Developing news tonight amid allegations of corruption inside Charlotte City Council.
And just days after the city of Charlotte reportedly agreed on a potential settlement with the chief of police, there are more allegations from a former councilman's wife.
WCNC Charlotte's Julie Kay joining us live in the studio. Julie, you traced this all the way back to the beginning now.
Yeah, this all started with text messages from now former City Councilman Tariq Bokhari to CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings. Now, Krista Bokhari is publicly pushing back against the alleged settlement, defending her husband and calling for the resignation of the chief. Now, there are a lot of moving parts in this case, but I broke down the timeline with everything we know so far.
A flood of allegations with no sign of slowing down. They all stem from the tragedy on April 29th last year, the deadliest police shooting in Charlotte history. Tariq Bokhari, who recently resigned to take a position with the Trump administration, publicly pushed Chief Jennings to let patrol officers wear outer carrier vests in the aftermath. Privately, that push was done through a series of text messages.
This is the chief of police who was absolutely publicly disrespected and privately disrespected.
NAACP President Corinne Mack says the texts were threatening and beyond the scope of a council person. That's why she filed an ethics complaint with City Attorney Anthony Fox in January, which he quickly dismissed.
It was fairly quickly. I was like, all this, I waited so long for the information.
Now in a statement on Facebook, Krista Bokhari alleges this all ended with a $300,000 settlement with Chief Jennings, which she claims wasn't valid.
I don't know if that's standard procedure for the city to keep somebody in their position who is actively seeking compensation from the city and threatening a lawsuit.
Here's the timeline she lays out. She says on April 28th of this year, a closed session vote on the alleged settlement was thought to have failed. A week later, on May 5th, she says council members were informed the vote actually passed due to a council member leaving without being excused, which would mean the absence counts as a yes vote. A day later, Councilwoman Victoria Watlington sent out an email alleging corruption. That is what caused Wednesday's heated press conference, where the city attorney says he is not confirming anything and doesn't have to.
It is a personnel matter. The statute and the ordinance and the laws provide for personnel matters to be dealt with in closed session.
Krista Bokhari says the city had no legal exposure because the messages were private. Now it's a waiting game to see what happens with the investigation and the still empty District 6 seat Bokhari left behind.
I have, of course, reached out to the city attorney in light of all these new allegations, but did not hear back directly. The city attorney says information leaking from a closed session is grounds for an investigation and potentially criminal sanctions. But does this actually constitute criminal charges? We'll look into that at 6. Back to you, Colin and Vanessa.
All right, Julie, we'll see you at that time. Thank you.